everyone. Welcome back to the Six Yards podcast. We're back after a short break, and what we thought we'll start off with a series of episodes talking about the top six clubs in the Premier League, and we're going to start the series off with Arsenal, and we have with us Supreet today to speak with us on how the tables have turned. I mean, if it's fair enough to say. Welcome, Supreet. How are you?
Hey Karthik, I'm doing good. What about you?
All good, all good. Before we move on, we'd like to wish all our listeners a very happy New Year. Hoping that 2021 sort of puts in a bright spot in all of our lives and life gets back to normal.
Yeah, and that's means Tottenham bottling it again.
We're in the final, mate. You can't say that yet. You can't say that till April. Yeah. But anyway, Supreet, I think year 2020 has been a blotch in our lives. But from an Arsenal fan's point of view, I think it sort of finished on a decent note. You would say.
Yeah, more than a decent note. I mean, the last time we recorded was after we lost to Man City in the League Cup. We got thrashed 4-1,
Yeah.
and that was at the back of, I think we'd gone 10 matches without a win in the Premier League. We'd lost 8 of them, and our only points were, I think, a draw against Leeds and a draw against Southampton. And since then, obviously, stark improvement. We won 3 matches on the bounce. It looks like there is some sort of brightness in the world suddenly, and those dark and gloomy times are hopefully behind us.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, three back-to-back wins. But I think what surprised me is the way, the kind of display that Arsenal put up, especially against the likes of Chelsea and West Brom. Uh, Probably playing with a little bit more flair, you would say.
Yeah, it seemed like the handbrakes were off. It seemed like the players, just enjoyed themselves, and I think it's got to do with that win against Chelsea. We were 2-0 up. I would say a little. I mean, we were a bit lucky to be 2-0 up. We got a
Hmm.
penalty, and then I mean, it was a penalty. There's no luck about it, but
Yeah.
at certain moments, you sometimes need that sort of decision to go your way. And then
True.
Jaka scored that free kick. He does that once in out of 100 attempts, and this seemed to be
Yeah.
that attempt that just seemed to go in. And
Yeah.
after that, there was no coming back for Chelsea. It just we went into halftime 2-0 up.
Hmm.
We added a third, and since then it just looked like a very different team. Um,
Yeah.
and it's just not got to do with obviously luck is a big factor, but the fact that we seem to have like some sort of creative flair, especially with
Hmm.
Mitro coming in,
Yeah.
filling that space between the base of midfield and attack, being that important link, as well as
Hmm.
Martinelli and Saka providing that sort of flair on the flanks that kind of
Yeah.
added on to how we've performed over the last couple of weeks, right? So I think all of these factors just it I think it just came at a certain point against Chelsea, and since then we've not looked back, right? So yeah, things are definitely looking good for now.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously, I mean, my next question is on Emil Smith Rowe. I mean, with Saka already proving his mettle on the big stage, do you think this is the next big thing out of the Arsenal's academy?
I certainly hope so. I thought Joe Willock was supposed. I mean, rather than supposed to be. I thought Joe Willock would get more chances this season because he's slightly more senior and he's played a lot more games, first team games at least. But he's struggled a little bit to cope to the Premier League. But on the other hand,
Yeah.
Emil Smith Rowe just seems to be playing like he's always been there. He's got a little bit of flair. He knows how to make that pass a bit like Ozil. I hope I'm not speaking too
Yeah.
soon, but he does seem to have that sort of creative instinct to him, and
Yeah.
he's not he's not afraid. He ran his heart out. He challenged players. He got into a few tackles, managed to hoodwink a few players as well. So I mean that's definitely done whole deal of good to his confidence. So I hope
Mhm.
he continues playing more games. I just hope that we don't overplay these three players, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, and Saka, because they're very young. And at this
Yeah.
age, you don't want to play your young players so much that they end up being injured, or they suffer
Mhm.
some sort of knock on towards the end of the season, right? Uh, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but when I say that, I also think if we kind of drop any of them, that means having to play Willian and Pepe.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's some sort of gamble that we'll have to take.
Yeah. No, interesting you mentioned that because we've spoken about Joe Willock, and his impressive start to his Arsenal career, and on this podcast, and then I think he sort of vanished out of. I mean, obviously it's a long season, and I hope he sort of comes back into the play. But I think the sustainability is going to be a key role. Yeah, early signs are really promising, but this is the Premier League. We'll all be keeping an eye on Smith Rowe's performances and how he sort of adapts to this situation.
Yeah, that yeah.
Yeah. So moving on, I think although the results have been in favor of Arsenal over the last couple of weeks, but one thing that continues to trouble is Aubameyang's performances or his slump, you could say. And I'm not too sure. Like I said, sort of trying to find his form will help his case. Because honestly, from what I've seen, I really don't. I mean, I feel that Aubameyang is starting to fall off a little deep. Maybe in order to try and create more. What are your thoughts, and how do you see this situation changing for Arsenal?
Um, so Aubameyang is obviously a striker that relies on confidence, and at this point in time, it seems like his confidence is not very high. He scored only 3 goals this season in the Premier League, 4 goals overall, and that seems to be somewhat compensated by Lacazette. I think he scored 7 goals so far in the Premier League, and that's kind of okay as long as we are getting one of these two strikers to fire. Um, Obviously, Aubameyang missed the Chelsea match, um,
Hmm.
and his role so far, I mean, in the game since has been to kind of shadow or play towards the left, uh,
Yeah.
which I'm not entirely sure is his right position. But I think in the West Brom game he was more central, but he wasn't really getting that sort of service, which is why we pushed him more towards the left. And that's when we bought in Lacazette, who relies on a lot of runners around him. And that's why he was able to
Yeah.
create that, that 1-2, pass movement with Smith Rowe, and to set up that Saka goal, which is all right. I think Aubameyang just had a small injuries, Nigel a couple of weeks back. Just need him to get to full fitness.
Hmm.
We have a FA Cup game against Newcastle, so I'm hoping he starts through the center, and kind of gets his confidence back by scoring a goal. I don't really think it's too much of a concern. We just need to, because he's kind of working hard. He's putting in the same amount of effort in
Yeah.
terms of kilometers run, and um, trying to set up play, which is all right. So we just need to get him
Mm.
to score maybe a goal and try and get his confidence back. That could also come to a penalty, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. So moving on, now that the ship has sort of been stabilized, what do you think the realistic expectations are going to be towards the end of the season now? I mean, I'm asking this considering the fact that there are some tricky games coming up. With the likes of Palace, Southampton, who are in sublime form. Then you guys face United at home, then Wolves away, and then Aston Villa away. I think that's a really tough run of fixtures towards the end of Jan. So do you think that is going to be critical to how things will pan out in the season?
So, I mean, the expectation always, I mean, even at the start of the season, was to finish at least in the Europa League spots, if not the Champions League spots. So, I'm still hopeful of us finishing in the top 7 in the Premier League.
Hmm.
Whether that's going to happen, I mean, the season is very different. The top top two teams. I mean, the table itself kind of says that there are so many teams that are so close to each other between like 11 or 12 places. So anyone could drop points, and that means that we'll move up the table. Uh, I still think we will in
Yeah.
the top seven. I think
Hmm.
Aston Villa, uh, maybe Everton, maybe Southampton, probably punching a little bit above their weight. So that
Hmm.
I'm hoping that they eventually tail off and kind of give Arsenal that sort of hope to kind of finish in the top seven. The games coming up are tough. Yes, I'm fully hoping we beat Crystal Palace and Newcastle at home, because after that we've
Hmm.
got a tricky run of fixtures. Southampton away, we've got Wolves away, we've got United at home before the month end.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Even like four or 5 points out of these three games. I mean, I think we are well on track to finish in the top um, in the top seven.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the fixture list is not really kind for you guys, because barring the Leicester game right up till mid March, there are some extremely tricky fixtures with uh, City, Spurs, Leicester, Leeds. So yeah, I feel that this period is going to be pretty crucial. But yes, I think yeah, things are looking better. 6 points off top four, which the way the league is currently heading towards, I think that's not a bad situation to be in. Yeah, but let's talk about the mood around the Europa draw. Benfica, happy, or do you think that's going to be a tricky uh, fixture to deal with?
More than tricky. It's a tough game. It's a tough away
Hmm.
match for us. Benfica, are pretty
Yeah.
obviously well known, pretty solid team in the Europa League. And given where we need to concentrate this season, I'm not too hopeful that we will given our best effort against Benfica, because I
Hmm.
think Arteta and the team, I think they kind of know that they have to finish in the top seven. It's financially very important. It's important for Arsenal's roadmap, at least in the near future, to be able to secure that financial
Yeah.
impetus. Um,
Yeah.
if we qualify into further stages of the Europa League, yes, obviously we'll make in windfall, but qualifying into the Europa League itself is very crucial for us. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm not too hopeful of the Europa League fixtures, to be honest. If we qualify,
Hmm.
great. It remains to be seen who we will face in the next round. But for now, I'm not too worried, or I'm not too hopeful about facing Benfica.
Hmm. Okay, but what would you prefer, if at all, given the current resources, and what would you prefer? Would it be a run in the Europa League or the FA Cup?
If are you asking me to choose between these two competitions?
Yeah, I mean, we know how successful Arsenal have been in the FA Cup. So, do you think focus, obviously, given the tough round of fixtures that you have, there will be a lot of squad rotation, that is needless to say. So, given that fact, do you think Arteta will give more importance to the FA Cup or the Europe League?
I think the FA Cup comes at the end of a week long break, so I'm expecting us to play a full strength squad against Newcastle. But Europa League games typically tend to be midweek.
Hmm.
I think Arteta will just experiment around with players like Willian, Pepe, um, maybe Willock, Nelson, kind of give them a run and hope for the best. It depends on who we face in the next in the FA Cup. If we are as lucky as
Hmm.
Tottenham to get weaker teams, then great. But if we end up drawing Man City, or someone like Liverpool or Chelsea, then I think, I mean, I don't think, I don't see us really qualifying. But you never know. It's a cup. If you ask me if I had to choose, I would say I wouldn't really mind a run in the Europa League, because we've won the FA Cup already. So
Hmm.
why not give it a go in the Europa League?
Sure. By the way, just a reminder, we beat Chelsea in order to get to the semi-final. So yeah, I think we weren't kind in the quarterfinals in terms of the draw, so it evens out. So
Oh, have you won the trophy?
we will, right?
You will.
The year ends with one, so yeah, no.
We'll see.
All right. I think my last question, and as important as January is in terms of the on-field events, the transfer market is open. The transfer window is open. I think we've already started to hear about Ozil departing for the Turkish league or probably the MLS.
Yeah.
What according to you are the realistic transfer targets, and will Arsenal make a big move for anyone in this, especially probably let's say Emiliano Buendia from Norwich?
Um, in terms of exits, I definitely think that Ozil is on his way out. I mean, that I think that's pretty clear from the start of the season. It just depends on whether he's going to move out now or whether he's going to move out towards the end of the season. And to be honest, I think
Yeah.
most Arsenal fans just want the saga to get over. If he stays,
Hmm.
I hope we reinstate him back into the squad as a backup to Smith Rowe. Uh,
Yeah.
because we have him on the squad, right? Why waste such a big and talented resource rather than
Yeah.
getting a new player in who will then still take some time to bed in?
Hmm.
Um, and apart from that, I think Socrates is also leaving. I think
Yeah.
he's moved out. Kolasinac has already moved out. Mustafi apparently, for some reason, has drawn interest from Barcelona. Yeah,
Yeah.
so there are a few players obviously on the fringes who we are trying to move out before, and there's also players like Luis and Willian. Luis, obviously, the contract ends at the end of the season. I don't see much of a. I definitely don't think we're going to extend his contract. So I think
Hmm.
he'll just remain in the squad. Willian, unfortunately, we've signed a 3-year deal. Unless we
Yeah.
tear up his contract, I think he's going to stay on and pick
Yeah.
up his paychecks. In terms of players coming in, there were a few names that were mooted. Obviously, Buendia is one. Christian
Hmm.
Eriksen is another. I mean, if we can somehow, make some money from some of these, um, early departures from the club, then why not?
Yeah.
I mean, we've made a few transfers in the recent past where we are paying the transfer fees in installments. If we can
Hmm.
capture a player like Buendia, who's shining it up for Norwich,
Yeah.
yeah, why not? I mean, he's a good enough player, but I would really like to see Smith Rowe becoming a first team player in the Arsenal squad. So any player that comes in, I hope is just a backup to Smith Rowe, right, at this point in time,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I think he's shown a lot of promise, and it's time we kind of blood in some more younger players who've come in from the academy into the first team.
Yeah, yeah, true. I think yeah, that's going to be the dilemma. Whoever is going to come in terms of an attacking midfield role, uh, are Arsenal going to take a gamble and build the core around Smith Rowe, or will they probably bring in an experienced head and sort of make Smith Rowe an understudy so that he'll probably be ready to take in the reins in a couple of years' time. So that's one interesting strategy. And
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm actually from a neutral standpoint, I'm glad that some of the deadwood is being cleared out. And so yeah, the revolution has already begun, you could say. But yeah, I think there were some rumors of an unrest, of a dressing room unrest. So I think now that the pace is starting to build, it's of utmost importance that Arteta sort of clears that mess around, whoever it is. Let's not take the names of the individuals because apparently these are rumors. But yeah, how many are going to be, if not the Jan window, at least on in the summer? I think it's better for the club to sort of move them on, and yeah, it's a decision. I think the kind of owners that there are at the club, I feel that it is of utmost importance they do not look at these moves from a financial standpoint
yeah,
and look from a team harmony standpoint and sort of get rid of them.
yeah,
So yeah, I think January is going to be pretty interesting for us in the transfer market.
yeah.
All right. Thanks, Supreet. Thanks for your thoughts. Hope to catch up with you soon and discuss about the next string of games.
Yes, thank you so much.